Hi there, QMJHL fans. Welcome back for our second episode of the Facebook Lives this season. Today's guest is familiar to the Maritimes fan base, which is Thomas Couture, who's now a goaltender for the Rouyn-Noranda Huskies and who won the Mem Cup last year with St. John. So, Thomas, welcome. How is it going?
Good. How about you?
Doing great, great. How's your season been doing so far?
So far, it's been pretty good. As a team, we've been doing pretty solid, finishing well. Right now, we're second in the league going into November, and I don't think a lot of people have put us in that position, but we believe in ourselves, and we're going to try to keep that up.
We've seen a few highlight reel saves already that are now going on this season. So, health-wise, you're doing good?
Yeah, pretty good. Still flexible and trying to work on my game every day.
Awesome. So, Thomas, for people who aren't really familiar with your career, I want to sort of go back to day one of your days in the QMJHL. So, you were part of the 2019 draft. I believe you hadn't been drafted as a 15-year-old and only as a 16-year-old. Is that correct?
Yeah, that is correct.
So, obviously, going back to that day, we sort of want to, if you could sort of take us through how that went. Obviously, you were one of the last few to get a live draft. It was in Quebec City in 2019. So, how was that whole experience and that whole day?
That was a pretty special day because, like you said, the year before I wasn't drafted, and I actually went to Shawinigan, so I watched the 14 rounds in the bleachers, and that was pretty tough. And then the drive back and stuff was pretty brutal, but uh, the next draft was at home after a pretty solid midget year, so I knew I was gonna probably be going off the board that time, and that was in my backyard at the Centre Vidéotron, so that was pretty awesome. And I remember when they called my name going downstairs, and they asked me to spot my parents and tell them to come down, and I couldn't remember where they were, and everything was going by so fast. So yeah, it was one of the best days of my life, and really rewarding for me and my family. It was a gift that we will cherish forever for sure.
So, you're saying you kind of blacked out when you heard your name get called?
Yeah, I was scrambling and trying to find my mom in the stands, and they asked me what she was wearing. I was still a little confused as to what she was wearing, so they ended up calling her because that's the only thing I remembered was her phone number. So
At least you didn't forget that part.
yeah, that was pretty brutal.
So you're saying own backyard. Obviously, you played for Lévis in midget AAA, and you said you had a decent season. Now that's being humble. Obviously, I have some stats here we can pull up. I mean, you were just dominating in those ranks. You had a perfect 6-0 record in the playoffs, under 1 GAA, 0.99 in those playoffs as well. And you were an all-star the whole season, basically 22-5-0 with a perfect record, 929 save percentage. Had any teams been in contact with you throughout the season? Did you sort of have a guess that Rimouski was going to draft you, or no idea at all?
Well, I had talked to 14 out of 18 teams, so that's I honestly I didn't know which team was going to get me. I had a actually had a good feeling about Charlottetown, but they ended up taking Gooby around earlier. So yeah, Rimouski, I wasn't sure, but I was so happy just going out of taking anybody at that point.
If you sat the whole season, the whole year out before, obviously you were going to go
Yeah.
to anyone, right?
Oh yeah.
Now, people don't know this, but during that year, basically, you were drafted by Rimouski, and you got a call up during the season to play your first QMJHL games. Can you sort of take us through that? How was that experience when you finally got the call?
That the call was pretty amazing. Just feeling like okay, like I'm gonna have my first chance, and I'd been waiting that moment for a while because I thought I deserved to be there, but going there just put a little too much pressure on my shoulders, and couldn't perform like I wish I did, and obviously statistically things didn't go very well, and that's how it is. But if I could go back in time, I think I'd change a little bit of something, but uh, that's just how it goes.
I can bring up one stat that I'm sure you wouldn't change. So Thomas Couture gets his first QMJHL win as a call up, but you also got your first point. How did that happen?
Well, when you play with Lafreniere, Bolduc, and all those guys, you stop it behind the net, and then good things happen. So I didn't do much of the play, just stopped it behind the net, and I remember it's pretty much coast to coast by Bolduc who rifled it in. So I still got to thank him for that today.
That's an easy apple, right?
Makes it easier, yeah.
As easy as they come. So the year after, you don't end up going to Rimouski. I believe you were cut in camp, so you went out west in the middle of a pandemic. Played out in Manitoba as well as in Alberta. What was the process behind that decision to go out there?
Well, I didn't get cut from camp. I didn't even get to go to camp. They didn't even
Oh,
invite me. So yeah, that was a tough blow, but for some reason I wasn't surprised and had a backup plans made up already. And yeah, I went west to Steinbach, where like I a little bit got a like not getting invited to camp was a pretty big blow, and confidence was in like top tier by that moment because all my friends were making the queue and like living the dream,
yeah.
and that was my goal since I was young. So that was pretty tough on the and like on the mental side of the game, and then going back there was had an amazing built family and amazing coach, amazing everything, and great support over there. Played pretty good over there, but the season got canceled with COVID, and then got loaned to Alberta, which things didn't go very well over there. But luckily, the Wildcats already contacted me, and I had signed with them back in November. So yeah,
So everything worked out fine then.
yeah, I feel like everything happens for a reason, and if Rimouski took me that year, maybe I wouldn't be where I am today, and I'm forever grateful for everything that happened.
Looking back now that you've come back, obviously to the QMJHL, sorry, are there some things you learned in out west that you sort of took back that built your confidence back up? What are some of the things you learned while you were out there that you sort of threw into your game now?
Well, I learned that like like hockey's not everything, just having fun and during hockey, and like sure major juniors was my goal, but that's not the only thing that there is, and you still valued even if you don't make the queue, and that was big in my for me because like I said, all my friends were making the queue, and I was the only one odd one out, and I didn't really feel like that was really fair, but that's what had to happen because I didn't have a choice really, and learn to live without just learn me to grind and keep grinding, and not a lot of 19-year-olds make the queue out of camp, and just believe in your dreams. And it's cliche, but I mean that's what happens for me, and I never missed a training in 3 years, and I feel like I got what I deserved at the end of the day.
I mean, let me knock on wood here because the goalie thing and talking about injuries are going to keep the good luck rolling.
Yeah, we'll see.
You had mentioned obviously you got signed by the Wildcats and then showed up to the Wildcats organization the next year. You obviously had a great beginning of the season. You were 11-5-2 before getting moved. That was obviously your first trade, I believe, in your career. Am I right?
Yep,
So
exactly.
how'd you react to that? Getting the news, you were rolling from Moncton. You get traded to St. John's, who were the Memorial Cup hosts last year. So obviously not a bad place to end up. But I mean, how'd you react thinking you were playing that great? Obviously.
Well, first it was a pretty big shock because I got news the day before that I was probably they weren't Moncton wasn't really looking to trade me, so
Okay.
kind of went to bed the day before the deadline thinking, okay, well, I'm going back to Moncton, and I was perfectly content with that. It's great organization, great setup, and great coaches and everything. Like nothing bad to say about them, and I was happy about that. And then at 10 in the morning, 2 hours before deadline, I get a call on my phone, and I see Richie Thibault, the GM in Moncton, and kind of knew something was happening. So I answered the phone, and he told me I was going to the Memorial Cup. So that was it's like two mixed feelings. It's like excitement, but at the same time, it's kind of disappointment because I really liked in Moncton, and I would have really enjoyed staying there. But at the same time, so much excitement that it's like super mixed feelings.
So before we move to the St. John portion of the interview, I want to ask if there's any fans out there who are listening live. If you want to throw some questions in the comments, feel free to do so, and we'll ask them to Thomas, bringing them up live. And now, obviously, to move on to St. John, everyone knows you ended up with a Memorial Cup over your head. How was that
Yep.
whole experience? I mean, did you show up, knowing you were going to get the crease? I know they traded obviously for Huskies as well. So, I mean, how was that whole process going in?
Well, I when they traded me, I hung up the phone and then went on Twitter, obviously to see what if it was already out or whatever. And at the same time, I saw Hurdy was going there too, so that was like, oh damn, like probably gonna end up riding the pine this year. So yeah, I was like a little disappointed, but at the same time, like I had a pretty good season in Moncton going, and I knew that if I kept going like I did back in Moncton, things were gonna work out fine, and they did, and ended up playing more games than most people thought, and ended up playing the playoffs. So that was pretty big accomplishment for me, especially coming like big caliber goalie like Hurtubise and a big trade that brought him over to St. John. It was pretty hard to earn what I earned, and I was very content with the way we the way things happened.
Obviously, you mentioned Urtubise. He was bringing a winning pedigree with him, having won with Victoriaville the year before. You suited up for 20 games for St. John, went 18-1-1. So obviously, you did great for yourself as well. I mean, going into the playoffs, obviously, you guys didn't have the results you were expecting. Then we have the coaching switch before the Mem Cup. That coach, made all the headlines when it was all about the media because of the Lady Mo comments and all that. Can you talk about a little bit about your experience with Coach McDougall?
Well, Coach McDougall was a personality that I haven't seen in my whole hockey experience yet, and like till this day, I look back at it and I'm like, usually you don't like the coaches that don't play you, and I have nothing bad to say about Gardner McDougall, even if he didn't play me at all. But yeah, he was obviously a great coach, and he has a winning pedigree and brought a winning culture in the room. And you know, if you look at us before the Mem Cup and during the Mem Cup and before, like the playing style changed completely.
Yeah.
Guys like look completely different, more grit, more grind. Guys look implicated, and it was just a different vibe. And Gardner brought that into the locker room and brought the desire to win. And yeah, it's a great coach, and obviously very grateful for Gardner, even though he didn't play me a lot. But I'll keep that on the low.
For sure. Obviously, nothing bad to say about the coach, but that was one of the questions I wanted to ask you basically, knowing you didn't play any games now, but I mean, how did you sort of prepare as a backup for those games? Obviously, it's the national championships, you're on the biggest stage of junior hockey. How do you stay ready and focused and ready to go if something were to happen for you to go in?
Yeah, well, obviously I wasn't very happy about not playing, but I made myself I made a goal for myself to keep like trying to be the best teammate and bring a positive energy every day, and just trying to loosen up the boys every day, because honestly it was the most stressful moments of my life and I wasn't even playing. So could imagine what the guys were feeling out there, and just came in the room every day and trying to bring my the best energy I could to make sure everything I wasn't a distraction for anybody, and didn't want to win, like to cry about it, because obviously at the end of the day, if you're winning, I didn't have anything to say about me not playing. And if I could have played, I would have, but I wouldn't change anything right now. And winning is winning, and that's honestly what I want at the end of the day. So
True, and obviously stats are one thing, but you're obviously a part of the team, and like you said, if you try to get implicated any way you can, you're part of those results as well. I mean, let's talk about winning on home ice, though. I mean, how was that feeling? I mean, you guys got to lift the cup in front of your home crowd there. How was that whole thing?
that was awesome, honestly. The Just to see everybody, I got like I rewatched the game highlights actually on Thursday, I think, and
Really?
I had goosebumps, and I saw the images about the fans in the stands that you don't get to see when you're on the bench or during warm-ups or whatever, and people had face paint on their face, and then go Sea Dogs, everything, and I just realized how crazy it actually was. And it was a pretty big impact on the team, and obviously it helped us a lot during the whole tournament, and just having the city was had our back for the whole tournament. And our families was also there, which we like all the Quebec guys during the year, we don't get to see our families much because we don't play as much near our homes. But having pretty much everybody there was just amazing, and just winning on home ice was a cherry on top.
Now you talk about the city blowing up and everything. Speaking of blowing up, we have a nice video of you that went viral during the Mem Cup celebrations that was taken by TSN and Bar Down. So let's have a look at it together now. So we don't have the audio going, but right now it's basically it says on the screen that it's Bar Down had a feeling this goalie could score 40 because you're dangling in the warm ups, going through the legs, roofing every puck pretty much. Is that something you do every warm up, or is that just special because you had time on your hands there?
Well, I try to do it every warm up, but especially when I'm backing up, I try to have a little more fun out there and loosen it up. And playing for St. John, you kind of have to develop your skills a little over there because it's such a skilled team. And felt the pressure by the boys to get the hands going every warm up, and made sure if I wasn't gonna play, I'm gonna have the best warm up out there. And that was a goal accomplished for sure because pretty nasty snipes.
And did the phone blow up after all that?
Yeah, a couple old teammates back in the in Alberta, like my friends back there, just messaging me like, "Ew, what a shot!" It's pretty funny. I didn't see them at all recording, and just seeing that, I was like, "Yeah, I'm pretty nasty at that." Yeah, for sure.
It was a pretty funny video for sure. Now we saw during the summertime, Halifax threw one heck of a crazy Stanley Cup party for McKinnon, but you guys got a pretty sweet party taking over the streets in St. John for the Mem Cup. How were those celebrations? What do you remember the most?
I just remember us walking down the street with the Red Cup over our head at like midnight, just like the guys just screaming, "Get up, St. John, get up!" And then you just see everybody. They go in every building that they could, and just show the cup, and everybody was like, "Yeah!" And then it's just crazy. And then I remember going to Rockies in the rink at St. John, and just all the family was there, and just free food, free beverages, and it was the best time of my life for sure. And uh, St. John is has a special place in my heart for sure.
Obviously, you played in Moncton, played in St. John. Now you're in Rouen, which is pretty much the full opposite
Yeah.
on the map. How's your time been in Rouen? Obviously, that's a different building if you want than the one in St. John and Moncton. But what can you say a little bit about the building, your time in Rouen, the fan base there?
Well, the fan base here in Hawaii is it's pretty intense. They love their team, and the they cheer a lot at the games, and they get very rowdy in there. And it's a great atmosphere. There's not a lot of it's not packed barn every game, but when we get going against Valdor, and they get pretty into it, and gets pretty crazy in there. And yeah, the facilities in the rink are like it's an old rink, but they're honestly very good for they're better than what I expected, honestly, if I'm completely honest. And
Mhm.
yeah, it's I think it's great here, and everything's pretty close to the billets, to the house, to the school, so that's pretty good. Save money on gas a little over there, and yeah, things have been going pretty good.
Nice. Now you're bringing up school. What are you studying in these days?
I'm doing university courses at UNB in finance.
Nice. And have you
Yeah.
given any thought to what you do after your hockey career, or if you're not a hockey player down the road?
Yeah, I don't really know yet, but I know it's probably going to be involving business and finance and stuff.
Nice, nice. Well, just to finish off this interview, I had a few questions written down. Obviously, the first one being, like it's sort of like an uncommon rule that goalies are sort of weird. Do you think A, that's a fact, or B, what are some of like your superstitions or things you do before games?
Oh, that's 100% a fact, but I don't think it applies to everybody. I mean, some goalies you'll meet, they'll be pretty outgoing, pretty easygoing, but some of the goalies you'll see out there are pretty special guy kind of guys. They're pretty reserved and don't talk much. And yeah, there's some different kind of people, but uh,
What about
you know
yourself?
that
Any superstitions or things crazy you do before games?
uh, honestly, not really. I mean, most of the guys consider me as a normal goalie, but I listen to music and get into it, and then just try to. I like lip syncing a lot. Just I feel like it gets me in the zone, gets me in the groove for the game, and I guess that's my weird thing.
Hey, we're gonna have to have someone shoot some behind the scenes footage of you lip syncing before a game now.
I'm sure you'll find some.
What about type of NHL goalie? I mean, who do you base your game off of? Anyone you look to for inspiration?
Well, I found out this year actually that I play a little like Jake Allen.
Okay.
That's what my goalie coach, Danny Sabourin, told me this year, and I was a little surprised. He's a little bit taller than me for sure, and you know, I like to say that he watches clips of me and try to replicates my game, but it's probably not what's happening here. And yeah, we have the same stance and the same. We try to play a simple game, and it's what I've been told at least. So yeah.
What about other sports? Do you play any other sports?
Well, not anymore, but I used to play. I played soccer, football, and baseball.
Okay. And you watch any other sports? Is there another sport you're a big fan of?
I watch football a lot because I got fantasy going here in the Huskies team, and
Okay.
trying to follow my players, make sure they perform right, and give me some fantasy points.
Nice, nice. Any other athlete you look for inspiration, or are you a Tom Brady fan, Lamar Jackson fan? Who's your guy?
Well, it's a little bit odd here, but Brandon Bolesworth. It's probably not known a lot, but he's a guy that walked on at the University of Arkansas and playing football, and was terrible. Ended up getting a scholarship, and then ended up getting drafted by the Colts, and unfortunately died during training camp of his first year. But
Wow.
yeah, I try to like the perseverance part of his career and just kind of grinding behind the spotlight and just getting rising up to what he wanted and what he always envisioned. And yeah, that's why I would try to model.
Sweet. And just to finish off, we'll just close off the interview because we're just going over our time limit here. But what about QMJHL wise? Who's the toughest guy to face or the hardest shot you faced in your career?
Well, the toughest guy to face right now, gave me a pretty hard time this weekend, was Justin Robidas. It was pretty. This weekend gave me a hard time, and I won't forget that. That's for sure. He's been pretty tough on me this year, but uh, there's a couple guys like Josh Roy. Obviously, is a menace out there. He's pretty hard to play against, and yeah, that's for now. That's all I have. I don't want to pump their tires too much because probably gonna have to play them a couple more times this year. But yeah, there's pretty good guys out there in the league.
Hopefully they answer you if they get the reverse question on who's the toughest goalie to play.
They better be.
All right, Thomas. Well, that's all we had for today. So obviously, thanks for taking the time. Very appreciative of you to sit down with us and chat. And obviously, best of luck for the rest of the season.
Thank you very much.
All right, thanks.